welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Matt Piper, and I am an artist, actor, and writer. And I am bringing these videos to you on a weekly basis, maybe sometimes weekly, sometimes 3 times a month, maybe that's it. But I am bringing these videos to you to make sure that you have the tools and tactics so that you can start building your career as an artist, as an actor, and so that you can also even out the times in which you are trying to be in a full-time job so that you can also sustainably make sure that you are creating as much as possible, because I want to make sure that you're creating. All right, so what are we talking about today? Archetypes. That's right. We're talking about archetypes. We're talking about the cool archetypes. We're talking about the silly archetypes. We're talking about the people who make the world freaking turn because they are simply just an archetype. We are making sure that we are going into depth about archetypes today because archetypes are important. Why? I don't know. I'm just kidding. I kind of know. That's why I'm telling you this video now, to make sure that you know what I know, so I can transfer my knowledge to you through the lens and make sure that you are doing good. All right, should we start getting serious? All right, let's go. So, archetypes. One thing that I have found out is how the world really likes to feel in control by naming and by labeling. This example stems way in the past, because it's a form of communication. It is a way for us to get an understanding of who that person is and find out what that person may do in the future. It is our humanistic grappling of trying to feel in control at all times as much as possible by naming and by labeling. Archetypes can be the star signs: Gemini, Aries, Pisces, Libra, Scorpio, Leo. It could be the Greek gods. It could be, somebody wrote a book called The Gods in Every Man and the Goddesses of Every Woman. And she utilizes those gods to create an archetypal person based off of your personality. There is the, what's the system? They're letters. Myers-Briggs. The Myers-Briggs system. It's another form of archetyping. It's another form of archetyping so that you can either know yourself more or rather, it is meant to be an understanding of yourself more so that then you can also collaborate and communicate to those that you also know their archetype as well. I mean, there's the Chinese zodiac. There's the tiger, which I am a tiger. I guess the colors fit right now. There's the dragon. There's the monkey. There is the rooster. There's the pig. There's the horse. There's the rabbit. And what else? I mean, there's so many other different forms of archetypes. Let's just see if I have a book. Oh, heck yeah. Let's do this. Oh, this is depressing. It does not have a front cover, but this is the Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings. There is an archetype. And then not only that, but the archetype can also be implemented to Christianity as well. So you can archetype there. You can archetype Bible. You can archetype so many things. You can archetype so many different understandings of the human experience and then encapsulate it into a form that one may be able to understand. It's all a form of communication here. Let me put this back. So with archetype, we cannot expect to know everything about a person just because of an archetype. We can't. And I don't think anybody is asking you to do that. Well, that's not true. I think a lot of people are trying to be like, what sign are you? Oh, you're a Gemini. Yikes. But, it just is kind of a generalization of who it is that you actually are, because you are actually a very special individual. I'm sorry. I mean, some people can say, you're not a special little snowflake. Well, I think you're kind of a very special snowflake. That's just my personal opinion, and I can be wrong. That's perfectly fine. But I do think that you are an individual. And a general assumption of who you are and the character that you are is not going to be deep enough to actually fully qualify the person that you are. But when applied to character, it's the same thing. Just because, well, I don't know, why am I holding a receipt? I'm holding a receipt now. just because you have an archetype of a character, it doesn't necessarily mean that that is the character. However, if you step into a form of writing, if you are stepping into, if you are trying to build a character, if you're trying to build a character, you have to understand that you don't know this character at all. You don't know this character at all. And even when you're reading, and you may assume that you know what their experience is like because you've witnessed or experienced similar things to that, you can empathize. And that's perfect. You can start there. You can use that. But you can also start by giving them an archetype. If you give a character an archetype, there's like the hero's journey. Oh my gosh. I should have looked up because I have a Jungian psychology. Or also Joseph Campbell. The hero with 1,000 faces. And I wonder if I can just quickly find this. I don't know if I can. But there's all sorts of, like there's the jester, there's the king, there's the hero, there is and then there's like the archetypal adventures as well, and how the person must experience all of these different aspects of the journey. Oh, was that it? I don't think so. I think he is also going back into even more different archetypes like Buddhism or Egyptian archetypes as well. Yeah. There are so many archetypes in this world and so many forms of trying to understand something that there is something to this. And this is how I utilize my characters. This is how I work with my characters. With my characters, you can start at archetypes. Archetypes can be, my character is a Gemini. My character is this Myers-Briggs. My character is the hero. My character is the jester or the fool. My character is the king or the rogue or the queen, the princess, the goddess, Artemis. We can work with those archetypes and start there, because then what you're doing is you are facing the very door that you've laid out for yourself to open and walk through to find empathy with your character. Once you actually step in, that's when you start to actually realize who your character is. So archetypes are a starting point, and such a good starting point at that. How do I utilize archetypes? So I've talked about this before, and I'm going to go grab my piece of paper. But there are archetypal gestures. And in the Chekhov technique, Chekhov says that these are archetypal gestures so that you can utilize them to create psychological gestures for your characters. They are movements that you have created for your character so that you can come back and step into that character every single time. But also finding out physically what that process is about moving through space, entering into the atmosphere, which we've talked about at an earlier video, and then finding out where this character is in space. And then you can create this gesture, a gesture for your character. you can create a gesture which needs to be fully formed. It needs to be strong. It needs to be clear. The gesture needs to have a beginning, middle, and end. It needs to be simple, and it needs to be full-bodied. What you can also do is utilize these forms of archetypal gestures. Now remember, with every single one of these practices, make sure that you are stepping into your actor's ideal center, because you want to radiate a form of energy that is going to enliven the work and also allow you access into the world of your work. Remember to enliven the energy, radiate that throughout the entire body, into the space, past the walls, and then draw that line, that threshold, that line in the sand, that doorway that you're looking out, and really radiate into that space and cross the threshold so that then you are now there to create. You are here, and then you have these superpowers. You actually have the ability to shoot lasers out of your fingers, to bring fire into your hand, to eat apples raw because you're supposed to eat them cooked, or to eat cooked apples, which is crazy. Why would you ever do that? But that's art, because you can do whatever you want to. You can play at whatever you want to. You can create new rules that now change the definition of the very place in which you are. Once you step into that place, then you are at a playful space, and then you can start working on your character, developing and finding and seeing and viewing and visiting. And with that, archetypes. Finding the archetype for your character. Now, once you find the archetype for your character, let's say that generally this character might open, close, push, pull, lift, tear, smash, embrace, throw, ring, or penetrate. You can start with one of those 11. See what that feels like. If something is calling your name in terms of this character, choose that one and lean into that one, because you can start there. And then once you step into that, then you can start finding different archetypes to pull from. So let's say that you want to work with a Gemini. Well, here I am. Hi, I'm a Gemini. You want to work with me? I got you. If you want to work with a Greek god, Zeus or Poseidon or Hermes, maybe, or Artemis, like, you can develop different entryways into your character. What is the general idea or the general understanding of the archetype that you're choosing? And then once you've chosen that, start there. That's the entry point. If that's the entry point, make sure to visit further. Go deeper. Because your character is not encapsulated by these archetypes. Nor are you. As we all know, we don't necessarily like it when somebody's like, what's your star sign? And then you give them an answer and they're like, oh, that makes sense. We're like, okay, why? Tell me why. Why does that make sense to you? I would love to know. If they answer, awesome. Like that, but that's what you're trying to do also. That's what your characters are asking you to do. Your characters are going, well, who do you think I am? And you go, oh, Zeus. And they go, okay, well, I'm not Zeus, but cool. What does that even mean? Because they may not even understand exactly how it is that they're going to reflect that archetype for you. So make sure that you're in constant communication with your characters, because we are in collaboration with our characters. And once we start working more and more with our characters, we're going to get a far better understanding of what it is that they're trying to tell us and show us, so that we can step further in to their work, to their world, to their lives, so that we can portray something beautiful on screen or on stage. That's what we're working on here. So utilize archetypes as a starting point. Understand that archetypes are everywhere. They are everywhere. When it comes to storytelling, when it comes to when you're watching TV, when you're watching a commercial, there are archetypes. When people are advertising to you, there is an archetype. When people are on Instagram, there is an archetype. When there is an influencer, that's an archetype. When you are, when somebody calls you a name, they're just calling you an archetype because they think that's what you are. So all can be attributed to a form of an archetype if you want to. But if you want to get deeper, utilize the archetype as a starting point, then ask clarifying questions. Why? Why are you doing what you're doing? If you are going to follow along on someone's journey, then you might start with an archetype, and then once you follow along in that journey, that path, that story, then you can start asking, why did you do that? Why did you choose that behavior? Why did you push away so hard when I told you that someone was coming? Why'd you reel into yourself? Why are you afraid? Ask those questions because they might be open enough to tell you. Start with archetypes and move deeper. If you want more things like this, please subscribe and like, because I'm going to continue posting these and I would love to continue getting you the tools that you need to be the professional that you want to be. All right, and that's it, my friends. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I hope you have such a wonderful day. I hope you create. I hope you do things that you are passionate about and care deeply for. Bye.